My name is Sojourner Truth. Today I am listed as one of the 100 most influential people in America today. But I was born Isabella Baumfree in 1797, a poor slave girl sold away from her family at age 9 with a flock of sheep. When I was 29, I escaped from slavery with my youngest daughter. Around this time, I learned my son had been illegally sold to another owner, so I went to court to get him back. I was the first Black woman to take a white man to court and win. The following year, I moved to New York City and became housekeeper to a Christian evangelist. In 1848, I became a Methodist and changed my name to Sojourner Truth. I told my friends, "The Spirit calls me and I must go." I made my way traveling and preaching about the abolition of slavery. I went up to Northampton, Massachusetts, where I joined the Northampton Association of Education and Industry, which supported women's rights, abolition, and pacifism. There I met leading abolitionists of the day, William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass, and David Ruggles. I dictated my memoirs to my friend Olive Gilbert, and later these were published as a book called The Narrative of Sojourner Truth, a Northern Slave. When I was 53, that book came out, and that same year, I purchased a home in Northampton, and I went to the first National Women's Rights Convention in Worcester, Massachusetts. 4 years later, I paid off the mortgage to my home with sales from the book. In 1851, I attended the Ohio Women's Convention in Akron, Ohio, where I gave my famous "Ain't I a Woman" speech. This speech demanded equal rights for all women as well as for Blacks. I must have traveled hundreds of miles and spoken to thousands of people over the next 10 years. From 1851 to 1853, I traveled around Ohio with Marius Robinson, editor of the Anti-Slavery Bugle. I then went to Battle Creek, Michigan, to speak to the Friends of Human Progress. You know, there was a time when I used to hate white people. My parents taught me to pray to have good masters, but mine were not good. But when I finally met my final master, Jesus, I was filled with love for everybody. During the Civil War, 1860 to 65, I helped recruit Negro troops for the Union Army. My grandson even enlisted. Near the end of the war, I was employed by the National Freedmen's Relief Association in Washington, D.C. There I rode streetcars to help force their desegregation. I even met President Abraham Lincoln in the White House, and he signed my Book of Life. In 1870, I then tried to secure land grants for formerly enslaved people. This went on for 7 years, but without success. I continued to speak about women's rights, prison reform, and against capital punishment. Not everyone welcomed my lectures, but most did, and I counted among my friends such influential people as Amy Post, Wendell Phillips, Lucretia Mott, Susan B. Anthony, and Ellen G. White, to name a few. I was usually the only woman of color up on the podium, and I never had any formal schooling. But I spoke my mind for the good and welfare of all, and died peacefully at home, age 86, attended by some of my children and grandchildren, the Lord's faithful servant.